Lionel, is that you?
There, I think I got it.
Bruce, can I ask you a question?
Sure. Do I have to give you an answer? You can ask all you want, but do I have to answer?
Well, I could ask Kelly instead.
Please, let's not go there.
All right. Is this the first podcast since the last podcast?
It is indeed the first podcast since the last podcast, but there's no guarantee that'll be the first podcast since the next podcast. So,
that's true. Nice one. You've got it written down, don't you?
Lionel, you could have asked me.
It's on the whiteboard right across the studio. Man.
I could have asked you, Kelly.
Yeah, you could have asked me, and I would have been very, very transparent because this is the last next one after the last one we did last night.
We didn't do
it. 10 minutes. It would have taken 10 minutes to get there, but you could have asked.
Why we didn't? There's no podcast on Sunday night.
No, there isn't.
Yeah. So what do you mean last night?
Everybody knows Sunday nights for football and baseball.
Oh yeah, exactly. And in the spring, hockey playoffs for a while.
Yes.
Yeah. And we, who we can ask about NHL highlights.
Who's that?
Is the friend of our guest tonight, Cam Neely, because when we're doing it, when we're interviewing him, he gets bored towards the end and he just starts watching NHL highlights.
Watching stuff on his own, doesn't he?
Yeah. Or where are you, Bruce? You left.
No.
You leaned back or something, or you turned your head or something.
Well,
he did a Scott.
So. He did a Scott. Yeah. Well, two of us heard it. Huh. All right. So tonight, we'll just get right down to it, because tonight we have the modeler, simply known as Kelly. And what was your AKA Spark?
Spark.
Not Sparky, just Spark.
Spark.
Because on another podcast, Bruce, we did Wayman and Black Grove Part 2.
Yeah.
All right.
And it was like total silence from Kelly for like an hour. And I'm like, you do understand the general principles of an audio podcast.
All right.
And he says, well, I'm looking at videos. And I'm like, no.
You're supposed to be listening to what your guests are saying. And that's what
I am. But at the same time, I was looking at his videos.
And then
apparently you weren't doing it that well. You weren't getting the information needed to make it an exciting podcast.
And jump in with comments and stuff.
I will. Yeah.
Like, hey, I'm watching one of your videos right now. When you dumped that train on the ground, how did it feel?
Yeah, exactly. Like how about this? Hey, I'm looking at your layout update number 8, blah, 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 blah. That kind of thing. All right. So tonight, we've interviewed, 4 years ago, we interviewed these two guys, Cam Neely and John Cafarelli, and we interviewed them together a couple of times, I think. I can't remember now. It was a while ago. And then recently, we've had Cam Neely on a couple of times because he has this fantastic YouTube channel and this fantastic layout. And these are two guys that met each other through social media. And you know what? How excited I get about talking about social media and model railroading.
It totally sucks and it's going to destroy it.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's how these guys met, was through the new world. And so we talked to Cam Neely, and then towards the end of the second time we talked to him, we started getting bored and was watching NHL highlights.
Yes.
And then I said, go ahead.
I was going to say, and they're young.
What, the NHL highlights?
No, the Cam.
Well, most highlights, unless you get the historic ones, most of them be like last night's game or last week's game. They're not that old. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. Usually the highlights are just of the last couple.
No, you might go back to like the '67 Stanley Cup highlights when the Leafs won.
Yeah. Like if you're on ESPN Plus, they have classic NHL, so you can watch like the 1964 Cup final with the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Montreal Canadiens. And but then it's black and white. But yeah, that's usually NHL highlights, Bruce, are usually last night, the night before, something like that. Boy. So anyways, we're now going to talk to John Cafarelli. and we're going to talk to him. And depending on how interesting he is, we'll talk to him once or twice. And then we're going to get the two of them back together again. And then we'll talk to them together again for like one episode. And then we're going to have the two of them do the Kelly questions together.
Ooh, that's a first.
It will be a first. And we're doing.
Can I ask John a question before we get going?
Yeah. So it's what we have here is we have Bruce, the moderately agitated male boy. We have the modeler simply known as Kelly, a.k.a. Spark. And we have the evil overlord and John Cafarelli. So shoot.
John, can you make a promise that if you get bored near the end, you will not be wandering off and watching videos and things on YouTube rather than paying attention?
Yeah, I can promise that.
All right.
So,
heard it, folks.
So, John, remind us what it is you're modeling.
So I specifically the layout models Union Pacific's Cascade subdivision from Oak Ridge, Oregon to Cascade Summit. And then more broadly in the past, however many years since I've been away from the layout, or, at least not living in my family's home, my interests have stayed with Union Pacific in Oregon, but have kind of expanded down the line a little bit more into Eugene and Springfield, Oregon. And so generally that area from Eugene south to Klamath Falls on the UP.
How far are you, Kelly, from Klamath Falls?
About an hour. Yeah, up 140.
And what's that big fancy bridge out there that's like a triangle or something?
Kitty, why?
That's down California.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Same thing. It's all the West Coast.
That's true.
So Klamath Falls. Klamath Falls is a town, I'm assuming.
Yeah, that's correct. It's
okay. And are there falls there?
I've never actually been down there. I assume that there are.
Before they put the dams in, there were falls there.
Oh, okay. And now there's dams, like hydro dams or something?
Well, they had 2 or 3 of them. They've removed most of them.
What, the dams or the falls?
The dams, so that the salmon can come back up the Klamath River. Yeah.
How big were the dams?
They weren't producing enough electricity.
Oh, so they were electric for electricity, but they weren't producing enough.
Yeah.
So then they got rid of the dams, and now the fish can come back up the river?
Right up the river.
And what river is it?
The Klamath River.
Oh, of course. I knew that.
And it goes up the Klamath Lake, which is a very, for Bruce's information, a bird sanctuary. Birds flying.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Did you know that, Bruce?
I was aware there was a reserve out in that area, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And what's it called?
Klamath
I think it's Klamath Falls.
Questions will get easier, men, as we go along. I don't think so. Okay. That's cool. And so the river, where's the river come and go to?
I believe it comes out of north of Klamath Lake and it ends up in the Pacific Ocean.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't see that. I don't see where I'm looking at the map now. I don't see a river.
Either the Pacific Ocean. Yeah, I think it does go to the Pacific Ocean.
Why don't we get the guy that lives out there to fill us in? Is there a river from Klamath Falls to the Pacific Ocean, John?
That is my understanding, yes.
Okay. Well, I don't see it on the map, so it must be a very small river. I'm looking at Klamath Falls, which is right beside Altamont, which is near Fairhaven, Falcon Heights, Henley, Olean, Derry, Keno, Odessa, Modoc Point, Klamath Agency. That sounds like a railroad name. Fort Klamath.
Klamath Agency would probably have been near an Indian reservation.
Oh, Fort Klamath. That sounds like it would have been near an Indian reservation. How do you think this is going so far, John?
So far, so good.
All right.
I'm not looking at NHL highlights yet.
Yeah, there you go.
That's a plus.
Yeah, Neely, how about that? He's not looking at NHL highlights yet. So where do you live now, John?
So I live in Springfield, Oregon, which is sort of the sister city or sister town to Eugene. It's just to the east of Eugene, Oregon.
And are you a permanent resident there?
At this point, yeah. We, my wife and I have been here for. Well, I was a student at law school until this past week. I graduated, And then
Congratulations.
thank you. And then we have plans to stay here into the future. I've got a full-time job here, and so yeah, we've been here for both of us have been here for 3 years, going on 3 years, and I've been here for 4.
So how far are you from Missoula, Missouri?
Montana.
I knew that. I was just testing you.
Did I pass?
Yeah.
I'm about 10 hours.
Okay. So both of you guys, because it seems to me I remember you were in the Chicago area.
Yeah, that's correct. That's where I grew up.
And Cam was in the Indianapolis area.
Yep.
And you guys found each other on Facebook.
Right. Yep.
And became fast friends.
Yep.
And you were like in your late teens when that all occurred, right?
Yeah, I think it was actually when we were both in college. Well, I guess, yeah, that'd be late teens, maybe early 20s at that point.
Yeah, well, it couldn't be. Yeah, it was around, it was a couple of years.
Really in the past, yeah, call it 5 to 7 years.
Mm-hmm. Around a couple of years before I discovered you guys.
That's correct.
And I think one of you guys must have written in or something. I don't remember how I found you guys. But
yeah, I think I might have written in, just to, I think you'd spoken about, people are finding each other.
Right.
All this stuff. And I said, yeah, that's true. Here we are.
Yeah, exactly.
We have been finding each other. So.
And so both you guys built really nice layouts in your parents' homes, because when you started model railroading and you guys started to get serious about it, you guys were still living at home.
Yeah, that's correct. I think both of us started our railroads sometime when we were in high school. I know I started mine between my junior and senior year of high school, and then did the bulk of the work on it when I was an undergrad and still regularly coming home.
So the layout still exists in your parents' home in the Chicago area?
Indeed, yeah. I was there just last weekend and did a couple things on it. So it's still there, and no pressure to move it on at this point. It's pretty far tucked away in the basement, and so mom and dad are happy to have a reason for you to come home. Yes, and I'm happy to have a reason to go home.
So how often do you think you'll actually get home to work on the layout?
We're trying to go back a couple times a year, so I could see being back maybe 2 or 3 times a year. I know last year things were kind of hectic, so we only got back home once. But this spring I've already been home twice, and I'll be back in August, and then plans to do one of the holidays in Chicago.
And when you got back, was like the first thing you had to do was clean the track to get everything running, or was it a dust bowl, or like what kind of condition was the layout in?
It's surprisingly in good condition. When I was back in April, the layout hadn't run since the previous May, and everything came right on. I have my laptop plugged it in for JMRI, and everything fired up, and I just took use a piece of wood, a small piece of wood that's very smooth, and just run it lightly over the tops of the rails, and everything ran really, really well.
Let me be blunt. I mean, I'm just fascinated that both of you guys have layouts in your parents' homes. They're both fantastic layouts. Like that's the one thing we were talking to Cam about that I think is part of the new world, is that both you guys, young guys, have built really nice layouts. Mm-hmm. And I think part of that is access to information through the internet, and also the quality of products you can buy. And then on top of that, you guys both kind of had an understanding of what you wanted to achieve. But now both you guys are becoming successful adults. You've graduated from law school. You got a job out there near Eugene, Oregon, as a lawyer. Mm-hmm. Cam's got a really good job. He models water dispersion. It's on a 4x8 layout, and he just models water dispersion in the in the valley there.
I think it was one of the Atlas track plans at one time.
Yeah, exactly. And whatever valley he's in there, he's modeling water dispersion. And so, I mean, I find this like it's part of the new world, right? Like that's kind of the reason I really like talking to you guys, because I'm convinced you're the new world of model railroading. You've probably heard me say, I mean, I'm assuming you listen to all the podcasts and some of them twice.
Some of them I'm almost 3 times through. So
really, I'm perfect.
Wow.
That's being facetious.
So I'm convinced that there's a tsunami of model railroaders coming towards us. All guys like yourself in your 20s, never been without the internet, basically, had the ability to find other model railroaders, which was a complete impossibility 30 and 40 years ago. You knew the guys in your town, and you would occasionally meet somebody through the NMRA, but that was the extent. And then whatever you gleaned from the magazines, Railroad Model Craftsman, from our friend Otto Vondrak, who's the editor there, and the other one, Model Railroader, who had a fabulous column in it for about 7 or 8 years called Working on the Railroad. And so, I mean, you guys were able to build these layouts, and now you've moved on, but the layouts still exist. Like, it's interesting. Where do you see your head at about, because you now have you and your girlfriend have a child, right?
Yeah, wife. Yeah.
Your wife.
Have a 9-year-old, or not 9-year-old, 9 month old.
Wow.
Time hasn't gone by that fast. 9-month-old. Yeah. 9-month-old daughter. Yep.
You guys are pretty excited about that, eh?
Yeah. It's been a lot of fun. Kind of crazy finishing up law school at the same time, but yeah, it's been a great thing to come home to. And
now you've just graduated. What kind of law do you have a particular area of law that you want to work in?
The firm that I got a job with, they do business law and estate planning, and so I'll do both business and estate planning. Yeah. And
do you see yourself kind of, if things work out, you'll just continue on down that path?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Okay. So now where do you see your future in the hobby? Because, like, there's no point in kidding around. Both you and Cam are going to have to make some hard decisions about your layouts. Like, maybe you'll keep your layout in your parents' home, but you're probably going to be itching to start another one, or at least a shelf layout or something.
Yeah. So, kind of 2 things there. The first is definitely itching to start something else. I've really been doing mainly weathering and sort of bench projects for the past 3-4 years since I've been out here, and that's been great. But definitely have times where I'm itching to build a layout again, and so I've got plans to build a shelf layout. It'll be modular, and so not necessarily designed to be transported, but designed to be taken down and moved easily. At the house we're at now, there's a sort of like shed office in the backyard, and so I've got a pretty nice, basically, room that I'm sitting in now, where I have my workbench, and there's 2 walls, so I'll have 13 feet on one wall and then 9 feet on the other wall, and I'll model a small portion of Springfield, Oregon, the line that's just less than a mile from where I live, and I see every day. There's a local that comes out of Eugene to work some of the industries there, so I'll model that. And then with the layout back at home, sort of my role has been just going home and working on projects that I currently have the supplies for, and not really investing significant resources in it, and then running trains and enjoying it. But I think if my parents were to call tomorrow and say, "Hey, we're moving," and it needs to come down, then I wouldn't necessarily think too much about it.
Right. Yeah, exactly. You understand exactly where you are in your life travel.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I remember you started, weathering became kind of a thing for you, didn't it? Because, like you say, you were going to law school out in Eugene, and so weathering started to become kind of a stopgap or a filler for while you were out there.
Yeah, I mean, I've always enjoyed it, but never really had the dedicated time and space to it, and to do it. And so, not having a layout sort of cleared space for me to be able to get into weathering. And then, at this point, I've been doing so much work for other people that a lot of my own models that I'd like to get to are sitting either unfinished or not. So, weathering has definitely become my participation in the hobby, except for those few times when I can get to an operating session or get back home, to work on the layout.
And is there any operating sessions out there in Eugene?
I'm connected with one guy in town who's got a B&O layout set sort of in the transition area, and he models. It's set in Baltimore. It's just a beautiful, beautiful layout, and so I get over there a couple times a year to operate, and then a couple times a year to work on it and build it. I've been doing a lot of the ballasting and the scenery work over there, and so that's great. That's he's in Springfield as well, and so that's a 5-minute drive for me. And then there's a couple more layouts up in Portland that I get to, maybe once or twice a year for operating sessions.
So now I'm Canadian. Now I do pay taxes in the United States, and I have a home that I spend a lot of time in Florida. But maybe you could explain to me, because I'm a little foggy on this. Is it a thing like if you live on the West Coast, you model the East Coast? And if you live on the east side of the Mississippi, you model the West Coast?
Well, I guess at this point, I break that trend because I'm, living and modeling what I'm doing. But yeah, the B&O gentleman, I think he spent most of his life in Baltimore. And so
right.
This is sort of the 4th or 5th iteration of that. And
how did you meet him? How'd you meet him?
I got there's a gentleman up in Portland who hosts some larger operating sessions, and just got chatting with some guys up there, and one of them is on his sort of like monthly layout building or work crew, and found out I was in Eugene and invited me to come by one afternoon when they were working, and just clicked with the layout and what he was trying to achieve, and got invited back ever since.
And how did you find the guy in Portland?
So a gentleman by the name of Bill Decker also models the Cascade sub, but he models Southern Pacific, and he hosts regular operating sessions and is active on forums and whatnot. And so when I started posting, I think it was on the Model Railroad Hobbyist forum. I used to post a couple things back there. He saw that I was, modeling the same line, albeit in a different era, and got in touch, and we'd emailed back and forth and communicated back and forth. And then it just happened that I was out here and got invited to an operating session, and have been up there probably 4 or 5 times to operate.
So you met him through digital media.
Yep.
The internet.
That's right. The internet. Yep.
Bruce, can I digress?
I would not try to stop you. That's for sure.
This is not so much digressing. This is kind of a little bit of me blowing my own horn.
Yes.
And a story time. It's story time.
It's story time with Lionel Strang.
Yeah.
Pull up your favorite beverage and sit back.
So 100 years ago, there was a movie called The Apprenticeship of Duddy Kravitz.
Yes.
And it starred Richard Dreyfuss, who, of course, starred in Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
American Graffiti.
Yeah, and he's a well-known actor. But one of his very earliest movies was this movie called The Apprenticeship of Duddy Kravitz. And it was about a young fella who lived in Montreal, Canada. And the vacationers from the Montreal area would go to resorts in the summer, just like people did from New York would go to the Catskills. And the movie basically was about how Duddy wanted to be successful. And he eventually bought all the land around this lake. And he wanted desperately to be successful. And at the end of the movie, he's now being referred to as Mr. Kravitz because he owns the land around this lake and he's going to be successful. And at the end of the movie, he turns to his father, who is played by Jack, a well-known actor. You'd know him if you saw him. You know what? While I'm talking, I'm going to look that up.
Work the Google on the internet.
I'm going to work So anyways, at the end of the movie, he turns to his father and says, "You hear that, Daddy? You hear that?" Because they call him Mr. Kravitz. He goes, "You hear that, Daddy? You hear that?" And see, look at a lot of what John's done and Cam has done has been because of digital media and through the internet, the connections they've made. So I just want to say to both of you guys, you hear that? You hear that, guys? That's what's happening. That's what I keep saying. How do you spell apprenticeship? Now we're into a problem because how do you spell apprenticeship?
APPRENT.
Yeah, I got it. I got apprenticeship of.
There you go.
Of Duddy. Okay, here we go. There it is. The Apprenticeship of Duddy Kravitz, 1974 film. And it starred, let's see, blah, 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 Jewish Montrealer. Randy Quaid was in it. Jack Warden. Jack Warden was the guy that played.
All right, okay, Jack Warden, yes.
Yeah, there you go. I'm sure, John, you're a huge fan of Jack Warden.
John's going to be Googling him right now instead of watching YouTube.
Yeah. And Randy Quaid, of course, played Cousin Eddie in the National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Yeah, absolutely.
I do know that.
There you go. Anyways, I'm excited because this is what the new wave, the new world is going to be. People don't realize it, but I can see it. I can see this. Everybody's on the beach enjoying themselves and sunning themselves and having a wonderful time. And I'm standing there going, is that a big wave out there that's coming towards us?
Mm.
And that's the wave. The model, this hobby is going to explode, and we're all going to be covered in model railroad goo. Because that is a great story. You met a fella through a forum who knew a guy in Portland, and you meet a guy in Portland. You go up there to operate in that layout, and then you meet this guy, and now you're in Eugene, Oregon, and you're enjoying your model railroad life, all because of the connections you've made across the internet. I find that very exciting, John. I'm sorry, but I do. Silence.
It is. It really is kind of mind-boggling when you start thinking about it. You even think back, 10, 15 years ago, in the infancy of all this sort of instant communication that people were finally figuring out they could use the internet for other things besides looking at cat pictures. And like I say, it has absolutely changed the way people meet each other, people interact, get information. It's a wonderful time.
It's like, look at us. We got a guy in Eugene, Oregon, a guy in Medford, Oregon, two guys north of Toronto, Ontario, and we're having a conversation like as if we're old chums that were met for lunch yesterday.
Yeah.
It's just, it fascinates the end. And I just think it's going to make this hobby just get cooler and cooler and cooler.
Oh, absolutely.
And I like the idea, John, that you're going to build the shelf layout.
Yeah, me too. I'm ready for it.
And I'm too long. Yeah, and that'll give you something to put on. Give you something to put on your YouTube channel too.
Yeah, the problem there is I don't like editing videos, so it's stagnant until I muster up the courage.
You know who you need to talk to is Chris Wayman, who has had at least 40 videos on Green Frog Productions. You know of Green Frog Productions?
It sounds very familiar.
Yeah, it's a video company from the old world, from the 80s and 90s, and they're still going. And Chris Wayman, who is a rail fan videographer extraordinaire, doesn't realize who the hell he is. He's had many, many videos on the Green Frog Productions, which is now owned by Virtual. Is it Virtual Rail Fan, Bruce?
Virtual Rail Cam.
Virtual Rail Cam is now owned by them, and now those videos are available to anybody through Virtual Rail Cam. I'm telling you, John, I am so excited about this hobby. Does it show?
It does,
no,
yeah.
No, it does not. So if you're going to plug, at least get some enthusiasm going there, will you?
I know.
Like, don't beat around the bush. Tell us what you really think.
Well, this is just so cool. It is cool. I mean, like, and we have it. We've been talking.
Another way. Look at the Wednesday chats for the AML Patreon guys. You got like 40 guys from around the globe will tune in over the space of how many hours is going on, and some guys are on early, some guys are on late, but there's lots of guys talking and chatting and having a good old time, and it's like going down to the hobby shop Saturday morning and hanging around with your buddies.
Yeah, and just yesterday I posted on the fans page, I need somebody in Australia to help me get my AML shirts down to Australia, because I thought, you know what, I'm going to put everybody's package in one box and send them to somebody. And like 4 guys stepped up and said, well, send them to me. I'll get them. Yeah. I'll get them mailed out. And so, yeah, if you go to Virtual Rail Fan And like right now, there's Rocky Mountain Steam Trains, a video spectacular by Green Frog Productions. And there's endless amounts of videos. And a lot of these videos are done by our very own Chris Wayman. And unfortunately, I'm probably going to make some people annoyed because a lot of these videos, they don't say who the videographer is. And I'm thinking, why are you not telling people who the videographer is? So that's somebody's going to end up getting annoyed at me because I'm going to say, you got to put who the videographer is on these videos that you're flogging. They got a whole.
I think it'd be a nice touch if you knew who was doing the work.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Anyways, we'll get off that. We'll get back to John because I've been looking at this posted 5 months ago, weathering a Scale Trains AC 400. And you did it through time-lapse photography. This is brilliant. I love this video. I highly recommend that everybody goes to John Cafarelli's YouTube page, and it's called Union Pacific Cascade Subdivision and HO Scale. And one of the most recent videos is him weathering a Scale Trains AC 400 Southern Pacific, and he does time-lapse, and it's the entire weathering job. What a brilliant idea this is. I love this video. John.
Thank you. Yeah, those are time lapses are easy because I don't have to talk and I don't have to edit it that much. So that those are always easy to do. And I always have a project.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because we're going to get into that. But I just had a horrible thought, Bruce and Kelly.
Uh-oh.
Now that John's a full-fledged lawyer, am I going to have to pay for this?
$300 an hour.
Did he write down the time that the podcast started?
Yeah, probably.
Did indeed.
Every question he has to ask, he gets a little more money.
Yeah. Okay, so let's.
All right, John. It's been nice talking to you. We'll, tune in next
have
time.
A great night.
Yeah.
Actually, Chris Adams probably has some competition now.
Yeah, that's right. Another lawyer in the. So tell us about this
cross-country battle of lawyers.
How do you? So what do you do? Do you just set the camera up on time lapse and have at it?
That's right. Yeah, you can do it one of two ways. You can either on the iPhone, you can film a video as time lapse, or you can film a regular video and then in your editor, just speed it up. And it's easy enough for me to just film a video in the phone's time lapse setting, and I've got a little tripod and put the clips together. And
you got to do this more often. You got to put the effort in because it can't be that hard to edit together a time lapse.
No, it's really not. It's really not. But I think about like Cam's videos, and he does a lot with different clips and sounds, and overlaying, voice overlay, or like radio chatter overlay. And I just don't have those skills yet.
But you don't need them because this time lapse video of weathering this locomotive is fabulous.
Thank you.
I would if you could put a little bit of effort into doing this more often. I think you would find that they would be very popular because I'm picking up tons of information. I've got it on silent because I don't want to hear anything. I'm sure your voice is in there somewhere.
I think it's just piano music.
Oh, is it? Let me see.
Yeah, it's very relaxing.
It is. Look at that. Oh, lovely. Okay. But then, even then you should be doing this way more often because your weathering skills are fabulous. And not only that, I'm learning stuff just watching this time-lapse video. Like there's no words or description or narration over top of it, and yet it's still a great way to see weathering techniques because it's fabulous.
Thank you.
Yeah, you might want to give up the lawyering gig and just do weathering.
I have to get a little bit more productive.
Yeah, just go up to your wife tomorrow and say, that 4 year, and your parents, and say, that 5 years worth of schooling I did to become a lawyer. Yeah, I'm ditching that, and I'm just going into weathering model railroad stuff for the rest of my life. Just see what happens. Just give it a shot and see what happens.
I don't know if they'd take me seriously.
Well, they should because it's really cool. Like I'm looking at how you. What's the stuff? The black stuff you put around the creases. Is that ink or
That's
something?
just oil. That's just oil paint.
Oil paint, and then
I thin it down and put it in. Put it on the model with a brush, and then clean it up with a brush.
Yeah, and then use a Q-tip.
He makes his own taco sauce.
And I've seen
that's essentially what it is. That's exactly what it is.
Yep.
Taco sauce.
Yeah, that's what modelers use to highlight the seams and where the doors are and everything else.
Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
What are we saying here? Is this some sort of? Come on, you guys.
To me, it makes a whole bunch of paints they call panel liners, panel accenters.
Okay.
Some people decided to be humorous and whatnot. I don't think it is to call it taco sauce, which I don't understand at all. But I don't get it.
For us old timers, it used to be Indian ink, diluted Indian ink.
Well, yeah, it used to be diluted Indian ink, but now it's oil-based paint, is it, John?
Well, it's an acrylic base. I think the Tamiya is acrylic.
The Tamiya is an enamel.
Yeah, acrylic enamel. Tamiya has a whole line of this stuff.
Yeah, the Tamiya is an enamel, and then I use oils, out of a tube, and then I can better control the consistency. Whereas if you were to buy the Tamiya straight off the shelf, it's pretty thin, and so you can't really control it per se.
So see, this is important. We're getting into this is oil paint like an artist would use from an art store. This is oil-based paint that you mix together certain colors, and then you put it on there. And then I'm going to go back to it because this is really cool. I'm going to have to use the goal horn. This is really cool. I hope I didn't blow anybody's ears out there. And then,
Lionel, are we free or not free?
Oh no!
Jeez!
I know you kind of brought it up, and I was thinking, he's using the goal horn. That means,
Good thing I said that. Good thing I didn't.
Absolutely.
Oh my God! Because I wonder if John's ever weathered any Rapido trains.
Your fast track to model railroading fun.
If it's N, if it's H-O, the fast track is Rapido.
You know what I see is probably going to happen with this one, Bruce?
What's that?
You and I are going to be spending a few quality minutes together.
Doing some introductions and stuff where we mention our sponsor.
Yeah.
And who might our sponsor be?
Rapido Trains.
Your fast track to model railroading fun.
If it's N, if it's H-O, the fast track is Rapido.
I can't believe after 10 years I'm this bad at podcasting.
Well, actually, it's not 10 years with a sponsor. So the sponsor thing you're still working through. So,
but
we'll cut you some slack there.
We're closing in on a year and a half with a sponsor, and I'm still this bad at it.
And you're distracted by the pictures of the weathering that John has been doing.
I'm like the last guy on the planet that should have a podcast.
No, you're not. You're
I am. So I can't. I'm not lousy at it. And our sponsor is. Oh, yeah, right. She was. You'd think one time I could remember. Oh well, we'll do an introduction, and we've already done it twice. Oh yeah, and that happened on Caffarelli's, not Caffarelli, Cam Neely's last one. This is John Cafarelli, and that happened on Cam Neely's last one. We got halfway through, and you guys said something to about an hour mark or something. And I said the same thing. I can't believe I'm this bad at it. And then we did like 6 commercials. So a couple of them I had to cut out because we were just like going and going and going. And then then at the end we all did a introduction together. So how often do you and Cam talk to each other still? Like,
once a week or so.
Really? Eh? And you probably text quite a bit and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And you're showing each other what you're working on and stuff like that.
Yep, that's correct.
So John, do you what hobby shop do you use? Do you use the one in Eugene or the one in Portland, or a bunch of them in Portland?
So I use the one in Eugene if I need painting and weathering supplies that they have in stock.
Yeah.
And then I'm actually starting to use. There's a store called Michigan Toy Soldier. And they're mainly for armor modeling and sort of military modeling. But I've started to use a lot of their they have a really good collection of paints and stuff. And I found that the model railroading community isn't necessarily exposed to all of the products that are out there that are used by military modelers. And so we were talking about oil-based paints, for example, and they actually have oil-based paints made specifically for plastic models that have improved drying time or cure. Works better on plastic than straight artist stuff. And so
Right.
I tend to use different places for what I need. And then Lombard Hobbies out of Chicago, I use a lot for models and stuff, just because it's pretty much what I still consider like my local shop.
Yeah.
Yeah, and your statement about model railroaders not knowing stuff, that's like model railroaders go into a multi-aspect, for lack of a better word, hobby shop, and they only go and look at the trains. They don't look at the armor. They don't look at this and that thing where there's all sorts of cool stuff. And anybody who's, in my opinion, anybody who's doing armor, aircraft, that type of stuff with the scale models, they are light years ahead.
Yes.
Of techniques and materials and what model rotors are. The model rotors are still living in the dark ages when it comes to that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, back to our conversation earlier about the internet and social media, I've spent a lot of time on YouTube and Facebook over the past year, studying what those guys are doing with their aircraft or their tanks. And, you learn so much more about weathering, and, they're using advanced techniques, and they're painting their models in a way that, when they don't just spray it, say Union Pacific yellow, they'll start with black and then they'll build up the color in yellow. And so it has a weathered look, as they do it. And, I've definitely learned a lot from them, and you realize how much deeper we could go, in doing our models than we do.
Yeah. Who's got their? Oh, that's you, Bruce. Is your TV on, Bruce? Somebody watching TV?
No, yeah. Let me.
No, don't worry about it. It's not. It's I can barely hear it. Don't worry about it.
I will go turn it off.
Well, you don't have to if you don't want to.
No,
don't worry
because the person watching it is left.
Why do we have a TV in the studio?
Yep.
And while we're doing that, I've found my way all the way on Virtual Railfan. I found my way all the way to Green Frog Productions, and I found one of Chris's videos, and there's like no mention of Chris. It's just
it's unbelievable.
I know, like why they don't mention the videographer is beyond me. Like anyways.
So, John, I have a question about your weathering. Why do you paint the windows sort of blue looking in your videos?
That's masking tape.
Oh, it's masking tape?
Okay. Yeah, I could have answered that one.
Yeah.
Why do you paint?
I've just got blue painter's tape right now.
Why do you paint your windows blue, John?
Well, I'm just going over on the Facebook page, looking at the different pictures.
Yeah, I know, but you can't tell really. So how often? So are you fairly busy with the weathering?
Yeah. I've got a large stack of locomotives and cars that are in the queue, ready to go. So it's a little intimidating, and I work a lot with oils, and so things tend to take a long time versus acrylics, which dry 5-10 minutes. Oils you kind of have to let set up for 3 or 4 days before you can come back over it.
Oh, really? Because as I'm watching this, I see a couple of times there's like a hair blower in there, hair dryer.
Yeah, that helps take the just sort of the thinner. A lot of that thinner is on the model, and so the hair dryer helps that evaporate. But the paint itself needs time to cure.
And do you usually have 2 or 3 projects going at a time so that you can kind of keep moving?
Yeah, that I do, and just the way my schedule works out, I really only have about 20 or 30 minutes in the morning, and so it's kind of a bit by bit approach, but things keep moving.
Here's a little tip for you that might work. Now that you're a full-fledged lawyer, write down what time you start and charge yourself at lawyer fees, and then you might go faster because you're thinking this is costing me a bundle.
Yeah, I think I don't think anyone would pay those fees if I did it by time.
So you're basically doing weathering for your own cars and locomotives. Do you do any weathering for?
Well, that's what he is
people?
doing. It's all he just said. He's backed up.
I
This is all stuff that he's doing for other
doing
people.
stuff. I mean, it's really
fabulous.
Good.
It's Your weathering is fabulous.
Yeah, I noticed. I'm backtracking on your Facebook page, looking at all the photos, and your skill has improved from 2020 all the way up to present time. I mean, it's just amazing, the changes.
Yeah, and that was really when I started and had the time and space to do it.
I mean, it's just wonderful.
So, how have people found you? Like, how do people? What was it that created this backlog of projects that need to be weathered?
Well, I put a post out on my Facebook page, basically making it known that I would do it for other people. For a while there, I was weathering and then selling models on eBay. And so some individuals who had purchased my models do more for them. And the backlog right now is I've just got a couple clients who sent large boxes of numerous cars and, locomotives. And so it's just sort of, they come in batches.
And you, we've talked to Rob Arsenault, who's up there in, I think, Edmonton, Alberta.
He's in Edmonton, yes.
And he seems to, do you find it's still fun to do the weathering? Or is it kind of getting like, oh my God, I got to do all this stuff? Or is it something you truly enjoy and can actually get something out of it?
I enjoy it a lot. I think a lot of the projects that people send are either projects I wouldn't choose to do myself, or they're more challenging. And so I appreciate the variety that I otherwise wouldn't get. For example, I've got a few grain hoppers and some, they're just grain hoppers, but CSX and Illinois Central, and those are just Norfolk and Western. Those are just railroads I wouldn't touch otherwise. And so it's fun to be able to do those. And then I'm working through a batch of Southern Pacific locomotives for a gentleman. And, the SP heritage is pretty prominent out here. And so it's fun to be able to do those projects as well.
Now, can I add, I'm sure you don't mind answering this question, or if you do, I'm confused why you would. Because you do this commercially. How much for that Southern Pacific AC 400? What does that cost to get it weathered?
So my standard locomotive cost is $115, and then if there's things that make it, it's either going to take me a lot of time or the project is particularly challenging, the cost goes up from there. But those, and I realize that my title on YouTube is wrong. It's an AC 4400. So I went and fixed that. But those are pretty standard jobs. The guy wanted them done at, just a couple of years after they were put into service. And so, easy to do with the airbrush and a couple washes. But one of the projects I've been working on now for a gentleman is a Union Pacific GP 39-2. And I've been working on it consistently since January. And so it's a little bit more of a beast.
And there's a GP 39-2 video here that's 2 years old. Is that something else?
So that's something else. That's what I did for myself. Started a series and just kind of lost steam on editing. But
well, they did give us fair warning about that.
This is a different model, or a different road number, the same exact model, the Athearn Genesis. But there's some recent photos of it on my my Facebook.
Right, but I'm looking at this Union Pacific 1213 from. I hate to tell you this, John, but if you could make some more of these videos, these are fabulous videos with a wealth of knowledge for people. I mean, holy moly, this one that I'm watching from 2 years ago, the 1213, like, wow. Like, I feel like, you know what? Like, I've done very light weathering of my own, basically, with an air gun. I'll spray, a couple of colors very lightly across the engine just to make it, take the sheen of the fresh paint off, and use some of what are they called? Don't tell the dry powders. Oh my God.
weathering powders or pan pastels.
The weathering powders. There's a company that makes them, and they're at the tip of my tongue.
Oh, AIM. Yeah, the AIM powders,
No.
Is it Monroe?
Bragdon.
Bragdon.
Yeah.
I use them a lot, and so that's basically the extent of my weathering. But man, there is a ton of information on this video from 2 years ago about the 1213. And you know what? Right now, Kelly,
Yeah.
he's painting the windows of the cab white.
Ooh.
He's putting white He's putting white masking tape on.
That must keep him cooler in the summer than keeps the sun out. They paint some white, right?
Yeah, there you go. Boom.
Jeez.
Nice one. I think while you were away, Kelly wanted to know why the windows were painted blue.
Yeah, I
I heard that one.
Oh,
you
okay.
heard that? Okay.
All right.
It was my mistake. I didn't look
That doesn't
carefully.
matter. You know, this podcast
Look,
wouldn't
actually,
be
look at it. Oh, now see that I just came to one. It's obviously masking tape.
Anita's acrylic. Man, there is a ton of information in this video.
Yeah.
You got to do this again, John. You got to figure out some way to make the editing easier for yourself and try to make a few more of these videos. Even if you just do the time-lapse one. Like, I could follow along on the time-lapse one and pick up all kinds of information.
All right, I guess so.
Well, he sounds right up to the task there, doesn't he?
Yeah. Like,
What was that about enthusiasm earlier?
yeah, exactly. Try to do two weathering videos a year, one every 6 months.
I think I could do that.
Yeah,
Oh, there you go.
that'd give a little bit of consistency, and then we get to see your journey as you get better and better at it. And I'm assuming this is something you see you'll probably be doing your whole life, this weathering for other people. You'll probably start to charge a bit more in order to cut down the flow of business.
Yes. Yep.
And how these two?
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I think you cut out for a second on my end, so I apologize.
There's a lot of cutting out on this. Do they? You know what? When the internet cuts out, you know what it reminds me of?
What's that?
It reminds me of N scale.
Ah.
Because when it works, it's great. But when it doesn't, it's horrible.
Works
Hey.
well going backwards.
Speaking of N scale, Rapido trains.
Your fast track to model railroading fun.
Rapido trains, your fast track to model railroading fun.
Are you having any fun, John? I can't tell if you're having any fun.
I'm getting there.
Have you and Neely got together and decided you're just going to make my life a living hell just for the hell of it or something?
Maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, I know lawyers too, buddy.
Yeah.
I'll sue you till you turn blue in the face, pal. I'll sue you for coming out your front door.
Oh, are you going to get Chris to work for you?
Yeah. We won't. Let's not tell him just yet, though.
Yeah, don't tell him.
Yeah, we'll surprise him with it. You know who we got to get involved is Scooter. He loves suing people.
Oh, yeah.
That's his part-time hobby is suing people. Okay, so all right. So these two fellas that you got two big orders of tons of stuff from, whereabouts are they from? Are they local? Are they somewhere else in the United States? Like just a general,
Yeah, more east of the Mississippi.
Okay.
So not local. Yeah.
And they found you through your Facebook posts?
Yeah, that's through Facebook. Yep.
That's fabulous.
Yeah.
All right, tell us something. Tell us something you wanted to talk about.
Me?
Yeah, you. You're not under oath now, You can expand when you're...
Nothing I've said is legal advice.
Yeah, exactly. So how did you learn to weather? Let's see, because, come on. This stuff is so good. How did you learn to do this? Was it basically trial and error? Was it looking at other YouTube videos? You said you went to military. There's a lot of military. Do you look at military videos or what? How did you learn all this?
Yeah, I think a little bit of that, right? Just exposing myself to people who are doing it and trying to pick things up, or like if I see something, one of the things I'm trying to figure out now, painting graffiti on cars. I know it might be a controversial subject, but it's, you have to model it if you if you model the modern day, and it's so hard to do to make it look smooth. And so, if I see a video, I'll save it, or if I see a photo of graffiti that's done well, I'll comment and ask questions. And then, a lot of times I kind of have all of the materials I need. It's just thinking about how to do it properly and in what order. And so a lot of it is just spending time, double or triple the time thinking about how I'm going to do it, and then experimenting slowly.
Do you use decals sets for graffiti?
I have. I've found two issues with them. One is that when you put the microsol on it and it conforms around the details on the model, it distorts the tag. And so it, shrinks it down, or, will compress letters, or, just, I found it does goofy things. And you can cut the decal to help with that. And then the other thing is you don't really have a ton of control on the colors. And so they often look a lot more vibrant than they would otherwise be.
Yeah. This one I'm looking at one now, time lapse, weathering a boxcar, a rail box, yellow rail box. And you're doing graffiti by hand.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
And what number brush is that? Like a 000 or something?
I use a lot of 1, and then I've gotten some, what is it? 20/0 or 5/0, 10/0.
Okay.
I don't know.
I
think the size doesn't matter as much as if you can get just the point to stay fine.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, the thing of it is people need to learn that your brushes, they don't last forever. Like you got to use them and chuck them.
Yeah. No, I go through brushes, a lot more than I thought I would.
And how much would you charge for a boxcar to weather a boxcar?
The standard again would be probably 40. And then, if it was graffiti, the price would go up quickly. If there was rust, the price would go up quickly. Any details like that, the price would go up. But
and how did you determine your prices? Did you know what other people were charging, so you kind of went with that, or how did you manage to figure out what to charge?
I sort of thought, I'm not necessarily trying to make a ton of money off of this, and so I thought, like, okay, what's a reasonable price where I can sort of generate enough projects to get experience and build business up, and it just felt reasonable to me. And I asked a couple people. I was like, yeah, that seems reasonable, and it's probably low for what I could charge, but I think it's reasonable.
Yeah, it's what you're happy with, because people have a tendency, because people will pay for this because of the skill, and it changes the model railroad so much to have these fabulous kind of cars out there, or locomotives.
Right. Yeah.
It makes such a difference. So the people that will pay, because there's a lot of people that are just too busy to do it, or don't have the desire to learn how to do it, which is not a crime.
No.
It's.
I mean, I have no interest in like DCC installs. I would happily pay someone to put LEDs in a locomotive if it didn't have it.
Exactly. That would be John McGuire. What was his?
Yes.
You know of John?
Well, I know the name.
Yeah, what's it? Yeah, because he does DCC installs, and the name of his business is Kelly.
Is he Garden State, or is he not State?
He's Garden State.
Okay, so I actually get a lot of stuff from him through one of my clients. John does the sound and the lights, and then he sends stuff to me, and I do the weathering, and then I send it back to the owner.
So how did you and John get hooked up?
We're not hooked up. The owner just sort of has how he wants things done, and so that's
okay. So there's a fellow.
John and I don't know each other. I just happened to get boxes from him.
Okay. Well, guys should get to know each other, because now you have this podcast in common.
Yeah, and our names.
Yeah, that's true. That's kind of I hadn't thought of that, but yeah, sure.
I know, you got to look deeper.
So how about this? I'm going now. All right, hang on a minute. Wait a minute here. Let's just back this puppy up a bit. Hang on. I got to go. Just hang on here. Everybody talk amongst yourselves. Say something interesting.
Hey, John, do you have a hook with somebody who works for the Union Pacific on the Cascades subdivision?
I do. Yep.
Would his name be Joel Ashcroft?
Yes.
He's a member of our club.
Yeah. And I've gotten to meet a couple local railroaders. And I probably bother them too much with my questions, but
this is amazing.
they're great.
So just next time you see him, just tell him you know Kelly, and they'll go, "Oh yeah, right."
Oh yeah. He's gonna. Or you give him circus peanuts. He'll really like you. He hates circus peanuts. We actually Joe D'Amato made a mold for I'd say probably about 4 inch long circus peanut, and Joel had a train going around the layout, and we went in the back, the hidden part of the track, and put circus peanuts on the gondolas on his train.
Okay. All right. I'll bite. We are way off course now, but.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm just talking about stuff.
No, okay. Well, we got to fill in the blanks.
Yeah.
So,
Joel works for Union Pacific. He does. I think he still does the helper service on the Cascade subdivision.
Bruce, can you help me out here?
Yeah.
Not anymore.
Explain to us what the hell the deal is with circus peanuts.
Well, hang on a minute. Bruce, can I ask you a question?
Go ahead.
What I'm hearing is Joel and circus peanuts.
Sorry.
Yes.
And he works for the Union Pacific. So Joel works for the Union Pacific, and he hates circus peanuts.
And I'm thinking, what the hell are circus peanuts, and why does Joe hate them? But we haven't quite made that connection.
Yeah, we're not making any connections.
Circus peanuts are a candy. Like a soft.
Are they those marshmallow things?
Yeah, like the hard marshmallow. Yeah.
All right. Okay.
So Joe made a big one.
I can understand why he hates them.
Yeah.
I don't even know what the hell you guys are talking about.
You know the
orange,
the various shape marshmallow candies. Yeah.
Marshmallow circus peanuts.
Yeah.
And you can get them at Candy Funhouse.
Well, there you go.
Okay, so how do we find out that Joel hates circus peanuts?
Because one of the guys in the club, I guess, found out about it, and they brought in a bag of circus peanuts, and one of the guys I think he works with actually put the circus peanuts in his go bag. So he was on the train working, and he opened up his go bag, and there's the circus peanuts, and it's just one of those little jokes that we pull on each other at the club. So. We digress.
This might be the most bizarre moment in the history of the podcast.
I'm excited about this because John's in Springfield. He knows Joel, and he knows about Eugene Toy and Hobby. And
right.
It's kind of cool. This is neat. And we're just 2.5 hours away.
So you guys should meet someday.
I want him to come down, and I'll definitely go up. There's another hobby shop in Roseburg too. So there's
and if John, if you end up with Kelly, if you end up with Kelly in Portland, Oregon, can you do me a favor?
What's that?
I'm begging you. Do not go near Keen Boots, the headquarters for Keen Boots.
Oh, Kevin, yeah.
No, John. You and John. If you and John end up in Portland, Oregon, John, don't go near Keen Boots, the headquarters for Keen Boots. Keen. Keen, just like it sounds. Don't go near.
I got a pair myself.
You got a pair
too? Holy smokes! This is unbelievable. I got 2 pair.
Well, I guess they're just sandals.
Wow.
Well, we won't judge you just for that. It's okay.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So.
Do you want me to be quiet, Lyle?
Not really. No.
I'm talking. I'm excited. This is
okay.
Great.
You're excited. Why? Why are you excited?
Because John is 2.5 hours away, and
you're going to go borrow money off him? You're going to sponge lunch off him?
No. What? We'll definitely try to get together, and it may. You can come down for when Joel comes down to the club.
Maybe he doesn't want. Maybe he doesn't want to get together.
Well, that's his choice.
Let's ask him. Hey, John, you want to get together with Kelly?
I'd be happy to.
Yeah.
Okay. With Kelly and Joel, but don't bring any circus peanuts.
Don't bring circuit. Yeah. Well,
And how do you
I don't know about that.
and how do you know Joel, John?
He's commented and
On your Facebook
engaged.
page?
Yeah.
Facebook page, and he and I have messaged back and forth about things, and yeah, he's a great resource.
Yeah.
And is all your weathering stuff on your Union Pacific Cascade Subdivision and HO Scale Facebook page?
Yeah, those things that I do put up there, any weathering that I would put up is on there. I don't have another weathering page.
Okay. What should we
At
talk
this
about
point.
at this point?
Mhm.
What should we talk about now? Hey, look, we're looking at the photos of Union Pacific 1210 at GP40, and he's painted the windows blue, Kelly.
I know. I see that. Duh. I mean, that's like,
You're lucky. You're lucky D'Amato isn't here. He'd crucify you for that.
oh man.
We got to get him back on.
Yeah.
John, I can't tell if you're having any. These are fabulous pictures of this 1210.
Wow.
Holy moly! You should have made a video about this. You are.
I've got another 1213 sitting in the box that needs to be done. So maybe I'll
do the video about that. You have exquisite weathering. You have really developed. It's an art form.
Yeah.
And do you hang out in groups? Like, there's groups of guys that weathering is their thing. Like, are there any Facebook groups where you hang out with guys that are all weathering? It's weathering, weathering here.
Not too much.
No.
I'm a member in them, and will see if there's anything going on. But I'm pretty particular about my groups, and it tends to just. I mean, I don't know. It just tends to flood the page, and I sort of, I don't know, like to be a little bit more picky and choosy about content and stuff
on your particular Facebook page.
And who I follow, and
right.
I feel, I try to use it as a resource, and so there's certain individuals who are, very highly talented, who I look up to and learn a lot from, and I'll follow them, but not necessarily everyone.
And who might those particular individuals give us a couple or three of these particular individuals that you follow that you look up to?
Sure. So like Rob Arsenault, I like to see everything that he does. There's a young guy. Well, there's a couple military modelers. One who does some trains, Evan McCullum from Canada, Panzermeister 30 something on YouTube. He posts videos regularly, and then.
Hang on. Slow down a little bit. We got to get this information out to people because people are listening to this and they want to be able to partake. So
sure.
What's his Facebook page?
So you can find him on YouTube, actually. Panzermeister 36.
All right.
All one word. He's mainly military stuff, but there's
right. But you follow
the occasional, yeah. And so he and I are in touch, and he's kind of one of those guys I can send stuff to, or send photos to, and he can kind of tear it apart.
Give you suggestions and stuff like that.
Yeah. Not necessarily just patting me on the back.
Right. So I found Panzermeister 36. He's got 80,000 subscribers, and there's tons of videos about how to do weathering.
Yeah. So he's a really good resource.
And did you just kind of strike up a conversation with him like you did with Cam?
Yeah, he had commented on some of my videos and posts on Facebook or YouTube videos, and then Facebook posts consistently. And I just, sent him a message and said, like, hey, I think we have similar interests. Would like to learn from you,
See, they're like, you got to post more videos because you met Panzermeister through your videos. And I'm telling you, man, you got to do 2 a year. Try to hit that number. Solidly do 2 a year. And they can be the time lapse thing. They don't have to be big, long, drawn out descriptions. I mean, that one you did from 2 years ago that has a lot of really detailed, just you try to do a couple a year because you're a real talent, and you'll end up doing the same thing for other people that Panzermeister did for you. people will be able to turn to you and say, what do you think of this? What do you think of that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think like those sorts of one-on-one interactions are more productive than the larger groups.
And
that kind of stuff.
And Bruce, do you know how they met?
Dating service?
No, internet, through the
internet. Oh,
the digital world of internet, the fabulous world of the internet. I was having this discussion with somebody the other day because of my I'm barely past 50, but I'm a few years past 50. And in my life, I've gone from, I was actually having this conversation. In my life, I remember us as a family not having a TV at all. And my Aunt Margaret got a TV, and we would go over on Saturday night to watch the fights on TV, early TV. And I've gone from that to where we are today. And like, what a friggin' ride. What a difference in the world of communication that has been in that period of time, in those few decades. Like, I can't even imagine what the world's going to be like in 40 years.
Right.
And like this hobby, I'm telling you, man, this hobby is going to explode, and we're all going to be covered in model railroad goo. And the problem there, Bruce, is you got to be careful to move your Rapido trains.
Your fast track to model railroading fun.
Rapido trains, your fast track to model railroading fun.
Out of the way, or they're going to get covered in model railroad goo.
And then they'll be kind of weathered, but not the kind of weathering you want.
Exactly. They'll be weathered, but not with the way you want them to. And it'll be hard to get the stuff off because it's pretty sticky. The goo is really sticky. It's a real problem.
Hey, John, how much rail fanning do you do in the area?
Every day on my way to and from work. It's pretty great. I try to, and actually from my office window, I look out over the main line through Eugene. So I pretty much catch every train that comes through between 8 and 5.
Yeah. The main line of the Union Pacific.
That's correct. Yep.
So if anybody's there in Eugene, Oregon, and they see a guy in a suit standing beside the tracks with his phone taking photos or recording video, it's our very own John Cafarelli.
Yeah.
Do you do that very often?
Or from my desk. Yep.
Or from your desk?
From my desk, I can see, and then we have trains have to blow their horns through Eugene. We don't have quiet crossings yet, and so I'm often alerted to when something's coming through. There's 10 crossings in downtown Eugene, so it's a lot of blowing of the horn. And then most times during lunch, I'll take a walk down to the depot, and there's a nice trail by the river. I'll walk down that, and that kind of goes by the tracks and stuff. So see a lot of trains.
So Panzermeister 36 is, what's his fella's name?
Evan.
Evan, and he's in Canada, you said?
Yeah, that's correct.
Do you know where in Canada?
I think out by you versus out by me.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
I don't know exactly, but Ontario.
Okay. And you want to know something else that's something Canadian? And Bruce will back me up on this.
Okay.
I guarantee you. You said his name was Evan?
Yeah.
I guarantee you, absolutely guarantee you that Evan has at least 2 hockey sticks in his house. Every house has a hockey stick in it somewhere.
Yep.
There's either left by the previous owner or the current owner has hockey sticks, but every house has a hockey stick in it. That's a little glimpse into Canadian life.
It's just the way it is.
It's just the way it is. There's no explanation other than it's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's one. Panzermeister. Who's the second guy that you look up to?
I mentioned Rob.
Rob. Does he have does Rob have a YouTube channel?
Rob Arsenault.
Oh yeah, Rob. Right, that's right. Okay, that's okay. We've got 2. I'll make you do one more.
And then there's a guy. I think he's a young guy too. His page on Facebook is called Stinger Art House, HAUS Train Division. And he's been to a couple operating sessions at Cam's place in Indianapolis. And he just does absolutely fantastic work.
Stinger Art House, what was it?
Train Division.
Okay. And Cam knows him. I wonder why Cam wouldn't tell us.
Well, he was busy watching highlights.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that was yeah. He drifted off by then.
Yeah, that's right. We'd lost him by then.
Yeah.
Okay, here it is. I found it. You didn't tell me how to spell Arthouse properly. It's Stinger and then Arthouse, ARTHAUS dash train division.
Yep.
Yeah, you could have told me how to. You don't need to. You could have just told me how to spell it correctly. Yeah, he does do fabulous stuff. Holy mackerel! All right, we've let you off the hook. That's 3. I'm not going to make you give us any more.
How about do you follow Ralph Renzitti at all?
I think I do.
When will you know?
Well, I'll let you know next time. I think his page is it's not his name; it's something else, right? It's like
it's a touch of weathering or something.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
You sound like
weathering a touch of yesterday.
That's it.
There it is. There it is. Okay. Wow. Weathering is such a cool part of the hobby now. I think this hobby is going to. What do you think of this? I think I was having this discussion with Uncle Dave the other day, and we had the discussion with Jason Tron too. I think like an N scale, Kelly.
Jason Tron?
Yeah, Jason Tron from Rapido Trains.
Your fast track to model railroading fun.
Rapido Trains, your fast track to model railroading fun.
What's Kelly laughing? Why does Kelly laugh? When
I don't know. Exactly.
I like it because I know I'm laughing about the jingle after
the jingle,
whatever one you put up.
Whichever one is inserted during post production.
You've either pushed the microphone away or you're talking quietly.
I'm looking at the screen. I'm sorry.
You're what?
I'm looking at the screen.
I am also looking at the screen too.
I'm gonna move the camera.
Wait, can I ask Kelly a question?
Sure.
Did you not get all the podcasting essentials in your studio and using them by now?
I am. I'm learning very quickly because Lionel keeps reminding me to keep my microphone almost touching my nose.
Yes.
And I learned that if you're going to turn your head, get the microphone in a position where if you turn your head, it's still projecting.
Uh-huh.
I'm trying to take a photo of myself from behind my head so I can send it to Kelly.
Oh no, I'm not even gonna go there.
I was gonna say, turn your camera on. This has got to be worthy of looking at.
Yeah, really. Oh god.
Something learned tonight. Lionel tried to take a photo of the back of his head.
Yeah, hang on. I think I can do this.
Oh
hang
boy,
on. I almost had it. The trick is you got to put your finger over the button.
Yeah,
and then try to point it there. Oh. There, I got it. I got a bald spot. Wait a minute, I got a bald spot.
Welcome to my world, buddy.
You know what John's problem is? He's sitting here. So this is the great thing about this hobby, though. John's 26. I'm just over 50. Kelly's well over 50.
71.
Yeah, and our buddy Bruce is just a couple of years younger than me, so he's barely past 50.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to send you guys these pictures. I'm going to send out these pictures to all 3 of you, so that this is what we're trying to teach. What we're trying to teach Kelly, because he keeps moving the microphone away, and it's like driving me slowly bonkers.
Yeah, because he does this, then he turns away, so you can't hear his voice way over there, and then he brings it back like this, and it goes the other way, and then comes back again to the sweet spot.
Yeah, then he'll say,
here.
John, can I ask you a question? Because I want to just ask you a question about your weather. And then I'll say, Kelly, you got to push the microphone closer. And he'll go,
yep.
Well, I'm looking at the screen, and I'm just trying to see the screen. It's like, oh my God. It's like, you know what, John? It's hard to soar like an eagle when you're surrounded by turkeys.
What you should tell them is it's harder to do that than is to weather the trains that he's doing.
Yeah,
really.
Exactly. All right.
Weathering the trains is a walk in the park.
I like this discussion because we have discovered, wow, here's a Southern Pacific that Stinger Art House did. Man, we got to track him. We should quit this podcast. We should just quit it because there's too many people to talk to. Oh my God.
Here's something that for John. Are you an NMRA member, John, or no?
No.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. Let's talk about that.
We could talk about that, but I was thinking with some of his videos and stuff that
Oh, yeah.
NMRA X would love to put some of his stuff up for some of their virtual monthly. I think they still do a monthly or every other month clinics that they put on.
Okay, we're going to touch on this lightly, and this will be our last conversation before we close up this particular episode of A Modeler's Life. Have you had fun, John?
Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't succumbed to the temptation to watch highlights yet.
So this is a conversation. You guys got to remind me, because when we have Cam and John on together, which we're going to do next, we got to have this conversation. I'm assuming Cam doesn't belong to the NMRA either. Do you know one way or the other?
I would bet that he does not. I'm pretty sure he does not.
Right. That would be my bet too. So, okay. Let's just briefly touch on John, 26 years old, loves the hobby, is into weathering, is a weathering guy extraordinaire, has built already by the age of 26, built a beautiful layout in his parents' basement, or has the beginnings of a beautiful layout in his parents' basement. Why don't you belong to the NMRA? Do you want me to fill in the blank? Because it doesn't offer you anything, correct? Everything you want and need is on the internet.
Yeah, or I have local connections here that aren't contingent on the NMRA. I've been able to build a network that's not contingent on the NMRA, and it's not like I only participate on the hobby through the internet. I have personal friendships here in town and in the state, as well as back home in Chicago, and it's just that I don't necessarily need a vehicle to make those connections.
Right. You don't have anything against the NMRA. You just haven't.
Oh, absolutely not. No. And
you just haven't found a need for it because you've made plenty of connections without the NMRA.
Right. And, I've, often, come summertime and am interested in like, oh, maybe I should go to a convention, or, I'm interested in see what clinics are offering, and, the different layouts in that city or region. And I've often thought like, oh gosh, if the NMRA were to host a convention in Milwaukee or Chicago, I would, want to go and participate. And so I certainly think there's a lot of value to it. It's just that, given the level of engagement in the hobby that I have right now, there's no need to sort of add to that.
Right. And give me an honest answer for this. But I think for guys like you, guys like Cam, guys in their 20s, guys in their 30s, 40s that don't see necessarily a need for the NMRA, not that they're against the NMRA, it's just they don't see a need for it in their life, just like exactly as you described. I think one of the problems is, like, if it was $19.95 a year to join the NMRA and all you got was a membership card and access to the internet or to their website, I could say to you, John, you got to join the NMRA. It's $19.95 a year, and then you're under our umbrella, and you're going to maybe meet a couple of guys, or maybe you're not going to get much out of it for your $20, but you're going to be part of the army. Would that influence you to join the NMRA because it's like $20 a year? Sure, now I belong to the NMRA. I'm part of I get my membership card, blah, blah, blah. Like, would I be able to talk you into it if that was the case?
I mean, if it was just to say I was a member, probably not. I mean, I think if it was like, and you can participate in this regional meet or this regional conference,
that's what I mean. Yeah. You'd have access to everything the NMRA has to offer.
Yeah.
But
I'd be tempted, but it's just
you'd at least be tempted. And I could probably berate you into it, because my point is,
it's just, I mean, like my fulfillment and enjoyment in the hobby is not contingent on my membership in the national organization.
Exactly. But the NMRA is struggling, and it's got to find a way to survive in the future. And so many guys in your position, through no fault of your own, are finding everything they need without belonging to the NMRA. And I keep saying, then you got to change the whole direction. You got to say, listen, it's $19.95 to join. All you get is access to the conventions and the website, and you get your membership card, but it's $19.95. And now you're under the umbrella that Lionel is and everybody else is. That's what I think is the secret to survival for the NMRA, me personally.
Right.
And the opinions expressed on this podcast do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the podcast, even though I am the podcast. So I guess they do.
Nor are they legal advice.
Nor are they legal advice. Exactly. So that's a good discussion. You, me, Cam, Kelly, Bruce, we're going to have when we get the two of you together.
Hey, John, have you gone to any prototype modelers meetings or meets?
RPMs.
No.
RPM.
Yeah, I have plans to go in October to the one in Portland and bring some models.
There you go. See?
Which would be, that's the sort of thing I would be kind of more inclined to.
Right. And that's the problem is that's the sort of thing lots of people are more inclined to. And we need to for the sake of the hobby because the standards, Andy Zimmerman, who's the chairman of the Standards and Conformances Committee, the standards and conformances that the NMRA oversees is very, very, very important. Like there's no two ways about it.
I agree. I agree with that.
So then so my argument would be, if you agree with that, man, you got to cough up the $20 a year. It's not $20 a year right now. It's like 70. But if it was 20, I could say, hey, if you agree with that, you got to cough up the 20. We all got to get under the umbrella together,
Yeah. I'll think about it.
Well, it's not $20, so don't bother wasting a lot of time. The Bridgeport Railroad Prototype Modelers Meet in Portland, Oregon. That's what it's called. Bridgetown. I knew that. It's October 5th, 2024. John, one of your jobs is going to be in the future. You have to go to the Bridgetown Railroad Prototype Modelers Meet and then give us a full detailed report on it when the time comes.
Yeah, I mean, the hope is to be up there this October. So
yeah, and
we will see.
It'll be your first one, right?
It will, yeah.
And you said it's like 2.5 hours from you?
Sorry, you cut out.
You said it's like 2.5 hours from you?
No, it's actually only about an hour and 40. It's a really
close.
Yeah, nice, easy drive.
So what do we got to do to make sure you get there? Like, do I need to talk to your wife? Do I need to?
Yeah, can you get child care for that day?
Yeah.
Do you babysit?
Kelly?
Yes.
Are you going to the RPM
You know
meet?
anybody?
Yeah, no, hang on.
No, not babysitting.
Are you going to the RPM meet? And
Joe and I are planning to go.
Oh, okay. Then you're not available.
No,
what about Yanti?
Available.
What about Yanti? You could drop her off on the way.
Oh, jeez.
I know you're kidding. But this is entertainment, John. So we're trying to. People are listening, and this is entertainment. It's edutainment. It's actually what it is a really bad podcast that should go off the air.
Should we start over?
Yeah.
Oh no, it's way too late for that.
Yeah, we shouldn't have started 10 years ago.
Yeah, we're like halfway across the ocean. There's no turning back.
Yeah, it's like there's no point in going back now.
This is a train wreck that's still going on.
Yeah. For some reason or other, the emergency brakes aren't. Yeah, the emergency brakes aren't coming on. It's still wrecking. If that's a straight shot up Interstate 5, let's talk about straight.
It is.
Yeah,
I bet
it's incredibly straight.
I bet you everybody follows the speed limit right to the number on that straight stretch. Holy mackerel!
Yep.
All right, that's it. We're done. How do you think it went?
Fantastic. I think it's okay.
I think it was too. I think we had a lot of fun, which is basically what the podcast is all about.
Oh, I had a great time. Yeah.
And so the next thing we're going to do is get you and Cam on together, but we're going to have a fairly detailed conversation about why guys like yourself don't belong to the NMRA, because we got to help the NMRA, because the number one thing, here's the problem. And Bruce, see if you can back me up on this one.
I will attempt.
Yeah, only if you agree. You don't have to back me up if you don't agree. Same with you, Kelly. Here's the problem. When you go to buy a new Toyota Highlander or 4Runner, a Toyota 4Runner, you don't care what size the tie rods are. When I buy my wife a car, she doesn't care what size the tie rods are. She doesn't care about the size of the brake calipers. She doesn't care about it anything that mechanical. She wants to know
not true. She just wants. She cares if it breaks down within like less than 500K at the side of the road, doesn't she?
Yeah. Well, no, yeah, that's true. But she's assuming because it's a new car, it won't.
It should be good. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But unfortunately, when you build a Toyota 4Runner, all these things are vitally important. You know, the size of the top dead center, the compression ratio at top dead center, the size of the tie rods, all these things are vitally important. But if you're going to sell it, to somebody, you don't say, hey, the tie rods on this are 1.25 inches thick. Nobody cares. But they're important. So here's the problem. With the NMRA, we got to maintain the NMRA because the standards and conformances are so important. And we can't just leave it up to everybody else to belong. You know, it's like you can't just say, well, it'll keep going, because we got to figure out a way to get you guys and the tsunami that's coming. We got to figure out how to get all these people interested in belonging to the NMRA. So it's a huge subject and topic that needs to be discussed and ironed out.
Yep.
Before it's too late.
And I know a lot of folks at the NMRA are working hard to try to get this sorted out and figured out.
Well, I have figured it out for them. I already told them what to do. Reduce the membership to like $20 a year, and then we can get guys like John to join, because he'll understand that he needs to be under the umbrella to support the hobby to keep the standards and conformances going.
So yeah,
there you go. Yeah. So there you go, Andy. That's my sales pitch for the standards and conformances, because they're hugely important.
Yeah, absolutely, they are.
If the hobby's going to thrive,
we wouldn't have had DCC if they hadn't got involved.
Exactly. Well, you figure if you owned let's say, for example, you owned a model train manufacturing company like Rapido Trains.
You're fast track to model railroading fun.
If it's N, if it's H-O, the fast track is Rapido.
Who do follow the standards.
Yeah, right. They follow the standards. And if you didn't have the standards, they wouldn't know how to build their models too.
That's
now
right.
we're at the, you know what part of the podcast we're at now, John?
Soapbox.
No. Well, that's a good one. I would call it rambling. Endless rambling by Lionel.
I thought it was gibberish.
Yeah.
No, authentic model railroad gibberish is something else.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
That's what the whole show is.
Oh, okay.
But this part at the end is just me rambling. I can hardly...
Welcome to Rambling with Lionel.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Kelly, can you give our email address?
Yes. If you want to reach us through the wonders of email, you can reach us at modelerslife@gmail.com. That's modeler with one L like Klamath, not two L's like false.
Oh,
nice. Wow.
And Lionel, the Klamath River flows to the Pacific Ocean and goes right by at the shore in a town called Klamath.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And getting back to birds, I knew it was Klamath. There's a thing called the Klamath Basin Birding Trail, which has like 47 different birding hotspots on it.
Yeah.
So they call them birding hotspots?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. And let's see. Oh, yeah. John, if you missed that. And I was also thinking, your two L's could have been there, Kelly.
What's that?
It could have been. The one I was going with was one L like Portland, not two L's like Caffarelli.
Oh,
another good one.
Yep. One L like Salem, not two L's like Willamette National Forest.
Willamette.
What?
Willamette.
Okay. It says Willamette.
I know what it says, but it's not pronounced that way.
That's right. It's just like breading and reading.
Yeah.
It's like skinny Adelise.
Yeah.
Or the one we didn't talk about the other day on the other podcast was Portsmouth, which is really, it's spelled Portsmouth.
Portsmouth. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Well, that's like Toronto.
Yeah.
The second T is silent. If you're a local, the second T is silent. Toronto. How do you say Oregon? What's the proper pronunciation of Oregon?
You said it there, Oregon.
Yeah. Whereas people that aren't from there, they go Oregon.
Oregon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's Oregon.
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 Yeah, Oregon. Okay. And what else do we got to do? Oh, yeah. So if you missed that, if you go to our website, A Modeler's Life, and you scroll down a little bit and click on the picture of the moderately agitated mailboy in a particularly agitated state, and just click on that picture, boom, the email address is filled in for you. All you got to do is put in your text. So the next time, John, you send us an email, boom, all you got to do is just click on the picture.
Easy enough.
Yeah. And John, can I ask you a question?
Far away.
Have you ever wanted a T-shirt with a hot dog on it?
Just once.
Well, if you ever have that urge, if you go to Midwest Model Railroad, have you ever bought any of your stuff from Midwest Model Railroad?
I have indeed.
And you go to the navigation bar and scroll across the navigation bar to Other. And on the drop-down menu, it'll say AML Shop. And boom, you are in a wonderland of AML merchandise. Hats, hoodies, T-shirts, mugs, whatever you could possibly need. And in there, you'll find a T-shirt with a hot dog on it. So do you think you can order one tomorrow?
Maybe Saturday.
You know, that's a big event. He'd have to, take the proper time off and do it Saturday when it's nice and relaxed and
Have the opportunity to sleep in. You know, good breakfast.
There you go. Yeah. And you'll be able to pick out the right color.
A big plate of bacon and eggs and coffee going, and then
That's
fire
right.
up MidwestModelRR.com and then ponder about the T-shirt with the hot dog on it.
If I'm going to do it, I got to do it right.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. That's one of these things you don't want to rush into. Just, I better do that. It needs some careful and proper thought to select the proper T-shirt with a hot dog in it. There's a video you can do, Lionel. Proper T-shirt with a hot dog.
Proper purchase of a T-shirt with a hot dog on it. Yeah, you know what I'll do?
Time lapse.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was
There you
thinking. I'll
go.
do time lapse. Yeah. How to buy a T-shirt with a hot dog on it? What did you guys
Welcome
think?
to buying a T-shirt with a hot dog on it, presented by Lionel Strang.
Yeah. Kelly, did you get my photos of how to properly put your microphone in front of your face?
No, I'm getting a T-shirt with a hot dog on it.
Did you get them, John?
Oh,
It says message failed to send. Oh, give me a break.
I got it.
I got it.
I got it.
Oh, did you? It says their message failed to send. Geez, I'm like
That's
way
about
better.
where I have it now. That's good.
I'm way better looking than I thought.
You are. You are.
Yeah, I'm a strikingly
You're
handsome.
That's right. You are.
I'm a strikingly handsome man for my age.
And that back angle of your head kind of diminishes the overall size of it, so that's a flattering too.
Yeah, I do have a giant melon, but no, yeah. But see, if you went a bit lower, you'd be aghast. You'd be like, "Oh my God, what is that?" I got to save those pictures and try to remember to put them up on the fans page when we release them.
There you go.
I should make a note or something. I'm actually right now. I am making a note because I'm talking about it. So I have now either pulled over to wherever it is I'm driving, and I'm making a note about it now. It's in real time. And finally, John, if you enjoyed this podcast and you'd like to have twice as much podcasting a week for just a few cents a day, if you click on our Patreon link on our webpage, amodelerslife.com, for just a few cents a day, you can have twice as much podcasting a week. On Monday is the free show, which is where we are today. And then on Tuesdays is our Patreon paid show, which is a little bit more in-depth. Sometimes we have a little bit more serious chats. It's a little bit more like sitting on the front porch with Andy and Opie and Barney after one of Aunt B's great meals. So that's kind of what it's like. A little more in depth.
John, you know who Opie, Andy, and Aunt B are, right?
No.
Okay.
And Andy Griffith show.
How about
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say it was like sitting on the front porch with the one that what's his name did,
does he know Ron Howard?
Bill Cosby. But then that would be like that wouldn't.
John, do you know Ron Howard?
No.
He's a director.
Yeah, he's a director, but he was an actor.
Hey, you know what it's like? It's like being in. It's like being on the Friends show. Well, you know what it's more like? It's like being on Big Bang Theory.
Yeah, it's,
There you go.
we got to figure out who's who now.
Yeah, exactly. And if you really like it and you go to our T-shirt level, then you can enter the new contest that's sweeping the nation. Hey, dude, where's my shirt? Because everybody gets a T-shirt every year that's only for Patreon members. But the problem is, some people are right up to date on their T-shirts, and some people aren't. So it's kind of like this new game show that's sweeping the nation. Hey, dude, where's my shirt? And it's very popular. All the kids are talking about it.
It's actually sweeping the globe.
Sweeping the globe? Yeah, technically it is, I guess, sweeping the globe.
It is.
Yeah. You're a Patreon member, aren't you, John?
I once was, yeah.
Oh, you stopped? Well, you should, because while you're working away doing your weathering, you can listen to viewer mail and what have you. You'd enjoy viewer mail. Everybody enjoys viewer mail.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I enjoy doing viewer mail. That's it. We're done.
Are we?
Yeah. Okay, John. So now we have a job for you.
Okay.
At the appropriate moment, we're going to need you to say happy rails to you. Now, the key to this is there's no singing, there's no dancing, there's no interpretation of any kind. We just need you to say with enthusiasm, happy rails to you.
Okay.
And the bar is really low based on what your buddy Cam did.
I can believe it. He was probably thinking about
That is true, yeah.
goals and assists.
Yeah, exactly. Well, John, as we close the barn doors on another episode of A Modeler's Life, and the sun slowly sets over the back 40, I guess there's nothing else left to do except for you to say,
happy rails to you.
While in Busted Knuckle, guests of A Modeler's Life podcast stay at the Casa del Sol Motor Court and Inn, where late-night dancing at the Rumba Room is a magical event to be experienced.
It's another Lincoln Homer.